Minister of Defence Wayne Sturge has highlighted mounting security concerns within the country's prison system. He was speaking at a pre-budget consultation meeting in the Caroni Central constituency on Wednesday. His comments come as government intensifies its national security response under the ongoing state of emergency. Mahalia Joseph Wharton has the details.
Minister of Defence Wayne Sturge says crime remains the country's biggest concern, with growing threats now coming from inside the prisons.
Let me just give you an example. You would know that there are things that are allowed into prisons illegally. No one is surprised about marijuana and cocaine and other drugs and so on, and other types of contraband. But I don't know if you are aware that recently a couple guns were found in prison. That's a serious security risk.
But it's not just guns. The minister says the scale of contraband is deeply concerning, highlighting one inmate in a high-security section who had a full-sized flat-screen television in his cell.
There's a certain prisoner, I won't call his name, a certain prisoner who had in his cell in the infamous Building 13, which is reserved for the worst of the worst. He had in his cell a very large flat-screen TV. You all heard of that? Yeah, I think it's 65 inches. Now, usually when you confront the prisons about how things are going, they don't seem to bring anything into the prison. It's always drones dropping it in. So I don't know how they dropped in a 65-inch TV.
He notes that while corruption is a factor, fear is also fueling the breaches as prison officers face pressure and intimidation from inmates and organized criminal networks.
They are human beings, and they are subject to the same fears that we have. More so, where they work is where the prisoners live. And it's not hard to find out where they live, and so on. So they are obviously fearful. But the level of fear that they face, it has now reached to the stage where it's easy for communications from some of the most dangerous prisoners to get out into the public domain and for them to carry out all sorts of nefarious activities.
The minister says the government has already removed 6 dangerous inmates from the system to stem the influence of gang leaders behind bars, and more efforts are coming, including advanced surveillance and interception tools.
But in the short term, what we need to do is acquire the sort of technology that is not dependent on too much human intervention. Because when you rely too much on human intervention, human beings can obviously be corrupted.
Minister Sturge says the public can expect a stronger technology-driven crime response aimed at reducing risk to law enforcement while targeting key threats. He is urging citizens to be patient as the government moves to extend the state of emergency and confront what he describes as an internal war. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TDT News.
Minister of Defence Wayne Sturge is linking the rise in gun violence in the Sangre Grande district to criminal activity rooted within the prison system. Minister Sturge, who is also the Member of Parliament for Toco Sangre Grande, said 3 of the 6 high-risk inmates recently removed from prison were gang leaders with deep influence in the area.
It is a situation that we intend to deal with because 3 of the 6 persons extracted, they are leaders of gangs that are heavily entrenched in Sangre Grande. So expect a lot of pain, but you have to get accustomed. They are at war with us. And we didn't initiate this war. We were in essence trying to protect you and trying to defend ourselves, defend our country.
He also raised concerns about the influence of external criminal networks, revealing that elements from Venezuela, like the Tren de Aragua gang, are now operating alongside local gangs, a development he described as dangerous.
But they operate on behalf of drug cartels, and they are here. And they are integrating with our locals, and that's a very dangerous thing. And If we don't fight back at this stage and take the fight to them in a very frontal way, then before you know it, we are on the back foot. And in short order, there'll be very little we can do. So there is going to be a lot of inconvenience in the short term.